You know, when you meet someone and you very quickly realize you pretty much share a brain, you're always on the same page and essentially speak the same language, maybe just in a different font?
I'm Stephanie, and that was Holly, and we are those girlies. After sharing an experience in corporate America, and maybe some trauma bonding along the way, we really just want to yammer about the stuff that matters to us. Join us as we discuss navigating self-love and growth, marriage, sobriety, and the hamster wheels that are our brains. And welcome to Same Language, Different Font. Number 3.
Back.
Oh.
Number 3. We're here.
Hi, guys. How the heck are ya?
It's 2025.
It is
2025. All of the episodes are going to be 2025 when you hear them. But right now we are celebrating that it is a brand new year. And we're so excited to see what it has in store for all of us, all of you listeners. Oh, we can't wait to see how this grows and to have you guys listen to these episodes and be on board with us. So excited.
So pumped for the start of the new year. I took some time over the past day or so to kind of listen through the first 2 episodes just to kind of rehash what we've gone through. It's been a while since Halls and I have sat down to record together, just navigating through the holidays, through the new year, and all of the just craziness and chaos that comes with that. The wintertime blues, if you will.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I feel like we started really strong. Episode 1 and 2, you guys, we were all about it. We were dialed in. And then I don't know if it's the same for our listeners out there. And I can only assume that maybe it is. But I hit a block. Holy
my
smokes.
God, yes. Holy cow. So literally every single year, I'm trying so hard to prepare for the holidays. And I'm like, okay, what can I do to stay on track and not hit this block every single year? No matter what I do to prepare for it, I feel like I still hit it. And this is why, and I've talked to you about it so many times, I don't count January as the start of the new year, the start of the new goals, the start of the resolution. I give myself all of January to take some time off and regroup and recharge after the holidays, because holy holiday burnout is real. February is when we're starting releasing these episodes, and that is exactly why, is because January deserves to just be a recharge month, not focusing on trying to flip any sort of mindset, really, just focusing on yourself and your family and being present after the holidays. That's all that it's about. And give yourself grace. Give yourself so much grace during January. It's becoming one of my favorite months, even though 2025 started off with throwing jabs right out the gate. We're here. We're ready to make this shift. We're ready for you guys to hear all that we have to offer, the advice, the research that we've done. We're ready.
Absolutely. Some personal anecdotes thrown in there, because goodness knows we've all got our stories, don't we? I will say one thing heavy on my heart this year, and one of the things that I thought about a lot in our time off from recording, was wrestling with imposter syndrome, I guess. Podcaster imposter syndrome. Is that a thing, guys? For my fellow podcasters out there, it definitely hit hard for me. Do we know what we're talking about? Do we have anything to offer? I know we mentioned it in episode 1 and maybe a little bit in episode 2, just talking about, we do feel like we can speak to these things because we have lived it and are currently living it. And I'm just going to keep rolling with that. You know what I mean? That's where I shifted my mindset again with getting excited to dial back in and get these episodes out there into the world, because our testimony is ours, but there are so many out there, so many listeners out there. I just know it in my heart that are feeling the same way, thinking the same things, wondering if they're alone out there dealing and navigating with all of just life in general. You're not, I promise. It's been a tough season, I will say. And I think I saw something, I don't know if it was Animal Planet or something like that, but just talking about hibernation patterns. And your girl feels like I needed to hibernate, okay? The rest, just actual sleep, resting our bodies, resting our minds, especially coming off the chaos of the holidays. I think that's kind of where I landed right before getting excited about everything all over again, and just feeling comfortable with being like, okay, chill out. January 1st does not need to be resolution central. Let's just calm down. So I'm right there with you on that.
It's literally 6 days after Christmas. Come on, guys. Like, we need more than 6 days. Come on. And not everybody has that week off in between Christmas and New Year's.
No.
I don't have that week off.
Either.
Please, just take the month. But first off, I love the hibernation pattern because it's so true. But, I mean, no, we're not experts, but not everybody wants to share what they've been through. And
Nope.
That's absolutely okay. You can find it through us sharing maybe, or I have no idea. Who knows? But you mentioned episode 1 and 2, and I just really wanted to specifically go back to episode 2 for a second and just apologize to our 60-year-olds out there, because I really need you to know, when we were mentioning just using you guys as an example in episode 2, we were not hating by any means. Just like when you're talking and you're trying to keep up with your notes while keeping everything flowing, I just needed to pick a decade, and y'all were it. So, Ma, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you out.
We're sorry, and we love you.
We do, because you're our number one fan. But anything that we talk about can happen at any point. It does not have to be a specific time in your life. It truly does not. It just takes a shift. Support from your community and support from, personally, from Big Band. But, that's each their own. But
Absolutely.
I just wanted to apologize to the 60-year-olds out there, and please continue to listen, because we've got more for you, I promise.
We definitely do. But I am very excited for the episode today because it is something very new to me personally, and something that Halls introduced me to quite some time ago and really put things into perspective for me. And that is just being intentional and remembering gratitude in all things. Those are incredibly, I just can't express the importance of them, but I just
not introduce those to Stephanie. Let me tell you, I think she was doing it, is it subconsciously? I always want to say unconsciously, and that is not right. It's subconsciously. But I think that some people, it just like kind of comes naturally, and you don't realize that you're doing it. But you just, you don't want to just sit and sorrow, like you want to try to get out of it and not kind of sit in a rut, which sometimes is needed. Sometimes you really have to feel all the feels before you can try to put a positive spin to it. But
absolutely.
Living with intention, holy cow, that is one of my favorite phrases in the entire world. I remember saying it to my husband right when we just started dating, actually, is that I want to live a life of intention. And it really is just by setting goals and creating a purpose for each day. That's what I have in my notes. And it means making choices that are deliberate, purposeful, based on your values, beliefs, and goals, and not letting your time and energy be consumed by the small stuff.
It's so true and so important. It is everything. Just really paying attention to the mentality of it all, and paying attention to the thoughts that you're feeding yourself and how those are aligning with what you're putting out into the world. I have the exact same definition of being intentional that you have, and it's so important. And if you're not careful and you're not being intentional with your thoughts and then your actions, I think that's where you can end up on like an autopilot type of situation.
Yes.
And just
the
navigating
block that you hit, and that's how I felt the past few weeks. Actually, is I want to stay on track, but here we go. I'm on autopilot every year this time of year. But I think we mentioned it in episode 1 of recognizing how many bad habits you have, or it's just something that you've always done. You're not living intentionally with it, because it takes a lot of self-reflection of, why am I doing this every day? What do I get out of this? Is this actually beneficial for me? Not everything needs that. Like, we're not saying nitpick like how you walk down the hall. No. Like, that's not, no. It's like, it's the bigger things that build up and take time. For me, I guess the biggest thing is, why am I having a glass of wine after work when I actually had a really good day? Why do I feel the need to have 2 or 3 glasses of wine just because? Is it because I see on TV that everybody has a glass of wine after work and that's just what you're supposed to do as an adult?
I was saying intentions and figuring out, why are you doing what you're doing? Why am I reaching automatically? First thing I do when I wake up is I want to make a cup of coffee. But some mornings I wake up and I feel like I need to actually sit and be like, do I need caffeine right now? Or am I actually pretty energized? Like, why am I automatically doing this just because I guess that's just what people do is they have a cup of coffee in the morning and you don't think about it. It's just automatic. I have to have my cup of coffee in the morning. I need my cup of coffee in the morning. And that's just one example out of many that I'm sure you can find when you sit and ponder it. But that's one that I thought about recently is I woke up and I was actually pretty energized and I went to make coffee and I was like, wait a second.
Do I need this?
Do I need to be making my body rely on this even more than it already does?
Right. And maybe that's the like end all be all, of making or trying to be intentional is when you have that question mark surrounding a situation or surrounding a thought or something along those lines. Because for me, like my example of trying to be intentional is in my parenting. Like I would say that's my one place right now is where I do have to actively think about, because it is, and being intentional is the conscious choice that is aligning with my value or my goal. Well, I value my family over everything else in the entire world, and they are my goal. Raising some babies to go out into the world that don't have to heal from some stuff that I did or said, that have confidence in the decisions that they make because they know mom's got their back, all of the things that go into it. Being intentional can be something as simple as, okay, I've asked you now 5 times to go ahead and get up and start getting ready for school.
Yep.
In a normal situation, let me pop off, and nope.
It's so easy. It's so easy.
I have to make that conscious choice right now to control myself and not lose my stuff.
Tell me you have kids without telling me you have kids when mine is about coffee and if I should have some as I'm drinking some at 3 p.m. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, there's never a choice about coffee for me.
I know, I literally have a coffee tattoo as well, and I'm just like, should I have more? But I would like to point out that I'm drinking from an SLDF cup that I got for Christmas. Sorry for the little segue,
merch
everybody,
incoming,
but
just the first piece of merch for the pod out there in the world.
I just thought that was funny, that I'm like, should I have coffee? And you're like, how should I raise my children?
It's not just that, it's 2 sides, but that's how big or how small intentionality can be. Truthfully, like it can be like it would seem like the most like microscopic little thing, but it can be a game changer in the overall day-to-day on how you think about things, how you navigate things, big issues that come up, little issues that happen. I mean, I know I've said it 1,000 times, but life be lifing, and if you're not intentional with the way that you're navigating it or the way that you're thinking about it, like that's how you fall to the autopilot. That's how you fall to the doom and gloom. I mean, it can be hard to pull yourself out of it once you've not made not made the conscious decision to be intentional with it. So it can be tough.
Yeah.
And
I always imagine like whenever you get stuck on autopilot and you're not being intentional or really taking the time to, I don't want to say take control of your life, because in reality we don't actually have control over anything that happens in our lives. But
Amen.
When I always think about like when you go in the ocean and you get caught in a current and you realize you've gone so far down the beach without even noticing it. And it's just like, that's what happens with life, is like if you don't take the time to actually sit and be intentional and focus on the things that you actually want to focus on, you're going to be halfway down the beach before you even realize it. I'm not even going to say an age. You're just going to be older and time is going to have passed, and that's always what I think is I don't want to get caught up in the current of life. I want to be able to like stand my ground, focus on what I actually want to focus on. Okay, I had a crummy day with work. There were a ton of issues, but am I actually going to let that take all of my mental energy for the rest of the day, or am I going to try to shift gears and focus on my family and my farm?
No, that was nice. Very nice. I mean, thinking about it that way, because it happens that quickly if you're not careful.
Yeah, it does.
It really can. And I think I want to say that this holiday season that we just came out of is the last where I will fall to the autopilot. And I joked with somebody at work earlier this week. I disassociated, dude. I disassociated it. I blacked it out.
100%.
I got through it. And that zero intentionality, like zero being intentional with anything.
Survival mode. It really was. And the thing is it was such a great holiday season too. It's not like anything bad happened.
No.
It's like
just a lot.
It was
it's
just
a lot.
getting through. But man, but one of the things I kind of just mentioned of, things are going to come up each day and they're going to try to knock you off course and have you, I feel like it's very easy, like you mentioned, to kind of pop off or shift to that negative mindset or woe is me. And sometimes it's 100% warranted. Sometimes you need to just sit and feel it and, just be in that rut.
And say it sucks. It's okay to say sometimes this sucks.
Just feel the suck and just let it be and not try to get out of it. But I think majority of the time, shifting the gears and shifting that mindset and the perspective of, okay, today sucked at work, but it's done. And now I have free time to do X, Y, and Z with whoever you want to do it with, or by yourself, because holy cow, having a night by yourself is 10 out of 10 out of 10.
Can be therapy, for sure.
Yes. But just being able to have that switch in your perspective, and something that one of the books that I was going to reference today, I have quite a few here, talking about gratitude, is actually the 40 Days of Gratitude that Stephanie and I did.
This one right
so
here?
Good. It's so good.
This one that's like the most heavily annotated and highlighted book that I have. Yeah.
Literally
besides my Bible.
Gone through it twice, and I'm tempted to do it a third time as I wait for my new devotional to come in the mail. But it mentions that we reap what we sow, and everyone typically thinks of that as actions of, sow a seed with someone else and you can watch how it flourishes. But with yourself, actions stem from your thoughts. So what thoughts are you sowing in your everyday life? And that just really stuck with me. And I really wanted to mention it this episode is, what are we focusing on? Are we focusing on the negative, or are we taking that initiative and setting the intentions of focusing on the positives and what we are thankful for? Because there's so much. There's so much. And when you really start focusing on that, it starts kind of slapping you in the face each day on how truly blessed you are.
And it's, amen, for one. And two,
thank you, Tommy Newberry.
I was going to say, and once again, because mine part of this that I found for this specific episode, and it's just so ironic that you just mentioned it, but not really. I mean, the name of our podcast is same language, different font, is his quote. It's speaking to being intentional with our words. He very simply says, train your mind via your mouth. And oh my gosh, I read it and then I reread it and then I highlighted it and I underlined it because it can be
sent it to me too.
100%. It is just so valid that what you speak will come into existence. Like if you can truthfully speak things into existence. And so when you are training your mind and having the mental just like fortitude and strength to, I'm on a spiral right now in my mind and I'm speaking it out loud. Today sucked. Today was a really hard day. I really don't want to be doing XYZ. I haven't felt happy. All of just he gives a great list in the chapter. Just for example, I'm never going to be happy again. I hate the way I look. I don't have what it takes. Those are just some examples that Tommy lists in the chapter. But, you're put
Good
your
old Tommy.
good old Tommy. I love how we're talking about him like we know him. Tommy, we love you, big guy, and we're
do.
very
Thank you.
appreciative for
the 80 days of gratitude, because I definitely
all
went
he's
through
done
that
it twice. But it's, it really is. And that's being intentional with the words that are coming out of your mouth, and if you can't find a way, and I think he says it on like right after, if you cannot say something positive, silence is the best substitute. And I'm telling you, I've said it once and I'll say it again. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. Lil Wayne said it. He was right. He never misses. It is just true. And I'm finding now that beautiful lyric from A Milli by Lil Wayne is
Never heard it before you said it to me, and I quote it all the time.
It's
now.
so true. Is it not? Is it not?
I love
it is so true. And I mean, Tommy says it just in a different way, if you just
a very different way.
Very different and biblical, and but it comes back to the golden rule, doesn't it? If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Well, dadgummit, that starts with you first. If you can't say anything nice to yourself,
in relation to yourself, and I think that's where it should start.
It should start there. Yeah. If you can't say something nice to yourself, just don't say it. Be intentional with those thoughts, because the more that you say it, especially if you're saying it out loud and breathing life into it that way, and you're letting it come out of the hamster wheel, or you let somebody else around you hear it, and now all of a sudden here they go, and you set them off, and now you guys are in a spiral together, and it's doomsday. It's just really tough, but I really think that it starts there first. It starts with the mentality of it all first, and then it ties into the second part of it. And you're absolutely right. The gratitude. Gratitude. It is if not one of the most important things that you can do for yourself on the daily, because one of the most interesting things to me surrounding all of it, and one of the main ways that I was able to start verbalizing my gratitude, writing my gratitudes down without it feeling monotonous or like a chore, is that gratitude and worry cannot exist in your brain at the same time. They cannot. And it is true. I have done it. I have seen it work. I have been on a spiral and been like, how do I get myself out of this? And I just started listing them all. Starting at the very top. I'm thankful for my Heavenly Father. I'm thankful for my husband. I'm thankful for my kids. I'm thankful for a shelter and a roof over my house, or a roof over my house. A roof over my. I am thankful for the roof on my house.
Thankful for that
too. But and then all of a sudden it just becomes easier to see the gratitude. Big moments, small moments.
It definitely takes time and practice for sure. But the 100%. Switch is there, and if you don't think of these things right away, I just need you to know that is okay, because 100%. Something else our boy Tommy mentions is that we are wired to fix problems. So in order to fix problems, we have to find problems. So we are always looking for what we can fix, what we can improve on. And that is a beautiful mindset to have. Do not get me wrong, because that's one of the main reasons we're here, is to be fixing these things and improving ourselves. But it also means that that's all that we're looking for. And so we're literally having to rewire our brains to do this. And some days it's a freaking fight to do this. Some days it feels fake. I'm not going to lie. I try to write them down in the mornings, the things that I'm grateful for. And sometimes imposter syndrome kicks in. I will write down the most basic things and I might not feel it, but I'm doing it. And I know that in the long run, it will help me. But some days it might not feel genuine. Some days it might be a struggle, and that's 100% okay. It's just still showing up for yourself and having that intention of, I'm still going to try to focus on these regardless, I think is what's important in that. One thing that's helped me is also the gratitude journal. It's just a daily, asks you just a couple of questions. You do it in the morning and at night, because I think focusing on these things to start your day and to end your day makes it easier for you to just automatically pick them out in the middle. But something that I'm not the best at, I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I've had this for probably 2 years now, and I'm not even halfway through it. But I do send and focus on these things. I just have a really bad time with writing them down. But it's one thing that I am working on this year. So hold me accountable, guys.
And speaking to accountability, and of course, we want our listeners, we want to hear your wins. We want to be there for you if you want to talk about the losses and everything in between. But having an accountability partner, I know we've talked about it probably in episode 1. I know for sure in episode 2, but Holly got me on this kick. What was it, 2 years ago now?
You just send a text. It's just like gratitude.
Gratitude in all
caps.
in all caps. And it's a game changer. It really is.
But it's also so fun to celebrate it with other people too. And it's like
that part, because I feel like in this world that we live in, it can seem selfish. It can come off as selfish to talk about your wins, to share your wins. You might feel like people are judging you for talking about your wins. Why is she always bragging about, the things to be grateful for?
Because we're supposed to be humble.
Right. And don't talk about that because somebody else might, all of the different things that you guys have 100% heard out there.
Mm-hmm.
Find one person, if that's all if that's all you feel like you've got, or something like that, to shout out the wins, to shout out those gratitudes, because it makes a huge difference, and it does help you identify things like that more often. I would say not all the time, because like Hall said, some days I'm like, yeah, I should probably be more grateful, but dadgummit, I'm just in a bad mood and I don't want to talk about it right now. But I mean, there's always opportunities for, growth and situations to change and all of the different things. And when you've got an accountability partner to remind you on your days, hey, crazy, you remember these 5 times this week that you mentioned this to be grateful for, and this to be grateful for, and this to be grateful for? Yep. Thank you. I needed that mindset shift. And you're absolutely right. I do have way more to be grateful for than I could put into words. Things that I'm not even tracking, unless I'm specifically calling them out.
Exactly. And we are on socials now. I think I mentioned that in episode 2, SLDF Pod, POD, on Instagram. Please send the gratitudes our way. Yes. Oh my Lanta, I would freak out if you guys started sending some of those our way. We're going to be posting them on Instagram as well, on our stories, just little gratitude moments. I have a picture. I think I mentioned in episode 1, I wanted to bake this Christmas season, and dadgummit, I baked. And it was a delicious pumpkin loaf that I will definitely be making again. So like different things like that, please send our way. If you feel like you don't really have anybody who could relate or would understand, we relate, we understand, we live for it. We want that feedback. And like Steph mentioned, having an accountability partner, for me, it's easier when I first started this and I was sending those gratitudes to you, Steph, and I would have moments where I would randomly, like, something would trigger me and I would start getting super anxious, or I would start to get in a rut and I would reach out to you on it. It's easier for someone who's not in it to see the perspective shift and kind of guide you towards that. And the more that you have that person to do that, I think now I'm able to find that shift myself a little bit easier. There are still absolutely times where I'll rely on Steph or Em, and they will help me kind of shift gears on that and see the bigger picture and see what actually matters. But having that partner that's not directly involved in it, this is actually what's going on. This is what can come from this. This could be the reasoning behind it, because sometimes you have to find the reason to make it feel a little less hard.
Absolutely. 100%. And sometimes, and the frustrating part of that is that sometimes you don't get your reason.
Nope.
For long periods of time. I mean, there are still things that, I've gone through in the past and that I'm just now, 10, 12 years later, oh, okay, that makes sense to me now. It's wild. And having somebody that can gently and lovingly pull you out of that. Because I one thing that really frustrates me, I will say, just as somebody who does care about other people and how they're feeling and things like that, is when somebody just tells you like, oh, you just need to suck it up, or oh, you just need to deal
Oof.
with it, or oh, it's not that bad, or oh, other
Yeah.
people have it worse. Like, please, for the love of gosh, guys, don't compare
Yeah.
other people's struggles against each other, or that's just, it can be very, very harmful. And in no way is that likely, at least in my opinion, going to pull anybody out of any type of funk that they might be in, is
Right.
hearing like, oh, you could always have it worse. Like, well, thanks. That just
That
started a
makes
whole
me feel
hamster
worse.
wheel of
Yeah.
all of the things that could be going worse.
Right. I'm not a monster. That does not make me feel better. That
No, God, that's sucky advice. Just don't do that. Like, goodness gracious, let's have some grace and show some people some grace. But I
Yes.
just and actually, that's so funny, because I'm looking at my notes right now, and it literally said, it's not always easy to find gratitude, to show gratitude, to have gratitude. It's not always easy. This is exactly what I wrote word for word. I'm just going to throw it out there. Accountability partners are everything. And the removal of people and things keeping you from gratitude is 1000% okay. If
Yes.
you
Holy
have
cow.
things in your life or people in your life, for me, TikTok, I can't believe that I'm saying it, but TikTok for me sent me into a spiral of comparison, of I don't have enough, of what am I not doing right to get me to, the McMansion on the water that I really, really want.
McMansion. Y'all, also, she was a big TikToker. I need that to be known. Like,
I was addicted. I was addicted. It was bad. And I can
this is a
100%
great
say
example
that
of living with intention, though. This is, you realize that this isn't good for you, no matter how much you actually enjoyed it. And
Yep.
here we are.
Sayonara,
Gotta go.
and I found the root cause of the problem and eliminated it. And it's just that it was a game changer, and it is okay. I mean, I have cut ties in relationships that I thought I never saw an end to these relationships ever.
Yep.
Familial friendships, all work relationships, because the way that they navigated life and being intentional and being grateful and showing thanks for things just did not align with me anymore. And that's okay. It's hard. It's very, very difficult. I'm not gonna lie. But for me now, the way that I feel and the way that I'm able to think about these things and put these things into practice without somebody going, of course you're grateful, or making me feel bad or weird about the changes that I'm making in my life to try and get me to a space where I can, with confidence, tell younger me that she's going to be okay, or something along those lines. Like, that's just, nothing's going to get in the way of this for me. Sorry, it's just not. And the way that I've seen my life and my family dynamic change just in my own house since I've started being intentional with my gratitude and with the way that I act and the things that I say, the things that I consume, whether that be food, alcohol, social media.
Right.
It's just like how frustrated I get that the gym works for me, guys. I hate that it works, but
it's so frustrating that it works for her, because I still don't go.
Same language, different font, and that's okay.
I have one more reference of a book, because I'm such a bookworm.
Love it.
I started this the pivot year. I started this year. Something that I'm trying to focus on is just kind of like Stephanie was saying, like, what are you pouring into yourself? What are you consuming? So trying to like put as many of these positive and productive consumptions, I guess, into my everyday. But on day 3, it mentioned happiness is not having the best of everything, but the ability to make the best of anything. And I think that, I highlighted it because, again, nerd, but it really stuck out to me, because I think that that's one of the big things that we're fighting for every day, is to just recognize that and to kind of find it. Sometimes it doesn't slap you in the face. Sometimes you really got to search for it. that's how 2025 has been for me thus far. Is it's been a really hard year, and like I said, it's throwing jabs, and there are just some situations that are too hard to find the gratitude in.
Mm.
However, I learned a lot from these hard situations, and having gone through it, I can now hopefully help someone else that has gone through it, and that I can find gratitude in. So it might not be the situation itself, but it's what you get from it. And that's really the only way that I could possibly spin some of these life situations that I'm sure we've all been through, to find just an inkling of something that can kind of make it
Positive.
more positive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, for a lack of a better term. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, some days it's a fight. It's easier doing it with your people. Community is something that we very much believe in and support and push and encourage, and any other synonym that you want to use for that, because I just gave you a dictionary's worth. That's why we're here. That's why we're building this, is because we want to encourage people to be able to live this kind of life and to have these thoughts and challenge themselves and step out of their comfort zones, because holy cow, it's great. Like, it's just, I don't know how else to say it. That sounds so cheesy, but it really is. It's like, what have you noticed since really focusing on these shifts? Like, what has been your biggest takeaway from living with intention and focusing on the gratitude?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you might be talking to our listeners out there, because I do want to hear.
Them
I want to
too,
hear. I
but
want to
they
hear
can't
from them
answer
as
right
well.
away.
No, I just I don't want to get upset, but I would say,
y'all, we are real.
I'm an 11-11er. I call them angel numbers, call them, whatever you want. Since it started when I was a teenager up to when I found God again, every 11-11, I would just wish to be happy. And I don't wish for that anymore. Now I just say thank you. Just really, really, I'm thankful for the ability to shift the mindset. I'm thankful for being able to listen to my intuition, to the signs the big man is sending me, to pay attention to the people that are being sent to me, the ideas that come to my mind, just so many things. But basically, instead of having to make wishes for things, and wish on a hypothetical, essentially, or wish for something in the future, I live it now. I'm living the gratitude, and that's made me happy. And when I stopped wishing for things and I just really started doing the hard work, I got happy. And I know that my tears probably don't make it seem that way, but it's just because I am so daggum thankful. I'm thankful for everything that has happened that has led me to this point, and to the ability to be self-aware, just really have that level of self-awareness that I think the world really, really needs. I think that, if there were more people out there doing that internal work, which is really, really, really freaking hard and can be really lonely and really dark and scary, and all of the things on the other side of that is just it's just a breath of fresh air. Like, I don't really know how else to explain it. But that's for me.
Sometimes it's overwhelming. Like, I'll just find myself sitting in bed at night, just looking around. Holy cow. Like, the little things. Wow, we have a home. We have a safe place to be. We have our farm. We have food for ourselves. Like, just the basics, if you think about that. And then really goes into it builds from there. They become so much easier to find, and it just kind of throughout the day I'll just think it like gratitude, and that's where the texts come from, is okay, let's actually take a second to recognize it and not just take it for granted. hadn't even thought about that phrase, but a lot of it we
Oof.
do really take for granted. But it's like you said, I think if more people took the chance and challenged themselves to
Yes.
really I love
Yeah.
this feedback. But really just there's so much more that you can get, and just I think it kind of has a snowball effect. So hopefully you guys can send the gratitude our way, and then your
Yes.
community and your close ones and loved ones can feel that shift too, and just have it spin from there. Oh, so cool. Sorry. I'm
Yes.
such a geek. I'm like freaking out over
No,
here
you
thinking like this is what
nailed
we need. This is what the world needs, and it's just
it.
so nice.
No, it is. And I think that our generation absolutely, like, I feel like a majority of us are embracing that, you know? Like, it's just,
I
it doesn't
love it.
have
I
to be
love
all
to see
bad.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can grow and we can change. And change is scary and it's weird, but it's also really, really good sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But that's, I mean, you gotta be brave.
Absolutely.
You just have to be brave, you know, and just have faith that it's all going to be okay. And even if it's not okay right now, I have full faith that you will get the why. You're going to get the why, you know, the why behind and anything that you're going through at some point or another. So
Absolutely.
that's
And I
that.
can't wait to hear from you guys and hear what works for you, what helps you stay focused, and are your daily resources with finding gratitude and intention in your everyday and sending that gratitude our way. I'm so stoked for
to
y'all
hear
to
it.
start reaching out to us and sending all of that. And we will be
Yes.
sharing it too, always with permission. We will always
Of
ask
course.
for permission before sharing it. But
And anonymity if needed.
all right, Nemo. But for real, I can't wait to celebrate you guys. I can't thank you enough for joining in. And I feel like this is going to be the best episode to have the What Are We Loving right now, because it just ties in so perfectly with finding the gratitude. This is how we wanted to start it with you guys, is at the end of every single episode, we're going to focus on what is going great. What are we thankful for, Steph?
My cheesy and goofy one for
Here we
the
go.
week will be Michelob Ultra Zero.
So good.
For my friends out there on your sobriety journeys, I think that there may be some conversations around still consuming non-alcoholic beverages, things like that. I don't care. It's 0% alcohol. I've had no alcohol in almost 180 days. We are going strong. Halls is well past her 6-month mark, coming up on 7. We are taking this journey very seriously at this point. Yeah, those Michelob Ultra Zeros are fire. They taste just like an Ultra, minus the headache the next day. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And then my more serious Sarah J. Maas, if you're out there and this ever ends up in your ears or on your socials, please know that I love you. I love you. I love you. I am so thankful for Throne of Glass. I'm almost on the last book on my third or fourth re-listen, reread. And let me just tell you, Aelin Galathynius, you do not yield, girl.
Such a hero.
It's literally something that,
God,
to my core, to all my book girlies and boys out there, you know, no discrimination here. I'm absolutely loving my, I believe it is my 4th read through of Throne of Glass.
So good. Also,
thanks,
if
Sarah.
she ever listens, I would be so incredibly honored.
I
Holy
would die.
cow.
I would
Goosebumps.
fall out. Fall out.
We peaked. We peaked. If Sarah Maas listens, holy cow.
Yeah.
Man.
So those are my 2. What are we loving right now?
Love mine. Yeah, mine are all. I have some materialistic ones, and I try to avoid those, but I really am just so thankful for them. My husband got me this mic stand for the podcast, and it is just so stinking cool. And I'm trying to not mess with it too much because I don't want to have to edit and just hear all of the banging. Because let me tell you what, that's such a pain at the end of an episode. But also, my merch that the lovely Steph got me. I am just screaming SLDF at the moment. I love it, and I'm so thankful for it. Thank you. And the last thing is I live in an area that does not get snow. And there is so much snow on the ground outside, and it has been so much fun and just so cozy to see it. I probably will never see it again for the duration that I live in this home, but it's so thankful for it. It was just such a nice surprise this month. And that's my What Are We Loving right now?
I love it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We love you, listeners. We are so, so, so grateful for all of you. You are on our gratitude list this week and every week. Next week, we'll be coming to you with some talk about non-negotiables, I believe, is up on our agenda next.
Yeah.
Should be really, really fun, and we're really excited. Thank you guys for everything. We're
Thanks,
so
y'all.
excited that you're here.
There are millions of fonts in the world, and new ones are constantly being developed. If you happen to be one of those millions out there that speak our language and are still developing, just like we are, stick with us.
We want to thank you for spending your time with us today, and we'll talk to you on the next episode of Same Language, Different Font. Love you, listeners.